The Tiger King. Part 3. The Maharaja's anxiety reached a fever pitch when there remained just one tiger to achieve his tally of 100. He had this one thought during the day and the same dream at night. By this time, the tiger farms had run dry even in his father in law's kingdom. It became impossible to locate tigers anywhere. Yet only one more was needed. If he could kill just that one single beast, the Maharaja would have no fear left. He could give up the tiger hunting altogether. But he had to do extremely careful with that last tiger. What had the late chief astrologer said? Even after killing 99 tigers, the Maharaja should beware of the 100th. True enough, the tiger was a savage beast after all. One had to be wary of it. But where was that 100th tiger to be found? It seemed easier to find tiger's milk than a live tiger. Thus, the Maharaja was sunk in gloom. But soon came the happy news which dispelled that gloom. In his own state, sheep began to disappear frequently from a hillside village. It was first ascertained that this was not the work of Kadar Miyan Sahib or Veerasamy Nayakar, both famed for their ability to swallow sheep whole. Surely a tiger was at work. The villagers ran to inform the Maharaja. The Maharaja announced a 3 year exemption from all taxes for that village and set out on the hunt at once. The tiger was not easily found. It seemed as if it had wantonly hid itself in order to float the Maharaja's will. The Maharaja was equally determined. He refused to leave the forest until the tiger was. As the days passed, the Maharaja's fury and obstinacy mounted alarmingly. Many officers lost their jobs. One day, when his rage was at its height, the Maharaja called the Diwan and ordered him to double the land tax forthwith. The people will become discontented. Then our state too will fall a prey to the International Congress. In this case, you may resign from your post, said the king. The Diwan went home convinced that if the Maharaja did not find the tiger soon, the tiger could be catastrophic. He felt life returning to him only when he saw the tiger which had been brought from the People's Park in Madras and kept hidden in his house. At midnight, when the town slept in peace, the Divan and his aged wife dragged the tiger to the car and showed it into the seat. The Divan himself drove the car straight to the forest where the Maharaja was hunting. When they reached the forest, the tiger lunged at Satyagraha and refused to get out of the car. The Divan was thoroughly exhausted in his efforts to haul the beast out of the car and push it down to the ground. On the following day, the same old tiger wandered into the Maharaja's presence and stood as if in a humble supplication. Master, what do you command of me? It was with boundless joy that the Maharaja took carefully aim at the beast. The tiger fell in crumpled heap. I have killed the 100th tiger. My has been fulfilled. The Maharaja was overcome with elation, ordering the tiger to be brought to the capital in grand procession. The Maharaja hastened away in his car. After the Maharaja left, the hunters went to take a closer look at the tiger. The tiger looked back at them, rolling its eyes in bereavement. The men realized that the tiger was not dead. The bullet had missed it. It had fainted from the shock of the bullet, whizzing past. The hunters wondered what they should do. They decided that the Maharaja must not come to know that he had missed his target. If he did, they could lose their jobs. One of the hunters took aim from a distance of 1 foot and shot the tiger. This time he killed it without missing his mark. Then, as As commanded by the king, the dead tiger was taken in possession through the town and buried. A tomb was erected over it. A few days later, the Maharaja's son's third birthday was celebrated. Until then, the Maharaja had given his entire mind over to tiger hunting. He had had no time to spare for the crown prince, but now the tiger king turned his attention to the child. He wished to give him some special gift on his birthday. He went to the shopping center in Pradibandhapuram and searched every shop, but couldn't find anything suitable. Finally, he spotted a wooden tiger in a toy shop and decided it was the perfect gift. The wooden tiger cost only 2 annas and a quarter. But the shopkeeper knew that if he quoted such a low price to the Maharaja, he would be punished under the rules of emergency. So he said, Your Majesty, this is an extremely rare example of craftsmanship. A bargain at 300 rupees. Very good. Let this be your offering to the crown prince on his birthday, said the king, and took it away with him. On the day, father and son played with the tiny little wooden tiger it had been carved by an unskilled carpenter. Its surface was rough, tiny slivers of wood stood up like quills all over it. One of those silver pierced the Maharaja's right hand. He pulled it out with his left hand and continued to play with the prince. The next day, infection flared the Maharaja's right hand. In 4 days, it developed into a separating sore which spread all over the arm. Three famous surgeons were brought in from Madras. After holding a consultation, they decided to operate. The operation took place. The three surgeons who performed it come out of the theatre and announced the operation was successful. The Maharaja is dead. In this manner, the 100th tiger took its final revenge upon the Tiger King. Thank you.